Okay, the size of the pullback. And a good way of quantifying this is to kind of work it out in terms of percentages. So there's your percentage move, whether that's on a swing perspective or a day trading perspective. We then see this pullback here. At what point does that start to stall? Now, if we're looking at a daily chart and we're seeing, green candle, couple of red candles, you have got to look at that and say, hey, look, this is massive, massive, massive demand. This is still not perceived as value. If we split this into quadrants or even into thirds, whatever it may be, let's split it into quadrants. Let's go into quarters or quadrants, whatever you want to call it. We've not even encroached into that. That was a day's worth of trade, for example. It's taken us 3 days now to back off here. What's going to happen? We can assume that the supply is not there. Now, there's another phase to it, isn't there? That's all very well and good, but we need another phase. So the other phase that we're looking at is how quickly do the buyers now step back up to the plate to get the trend going again. So the first one is the size of the pullback. The second one, number 2, is the time or duration of the pullback. Okay, so why is this important? Because the longer it takes to kind of do that, then maybe the weaker the trend. If we just see that over a couple of days on a swing trading perspective or a couple of minutes on a day trading perspective, and then immediately buyers are stepping up and then we see it starting to get aggressively close to highs, we can kind of make some assumptions from that. And as traders, that's all we really can do anyway, is make assumptions and make educated guesses as to what's going to happen. But we can make an assumption and we can say, listen, this has not encroached too far, number one. The size of the pullback is very, very small. Now, all of a sudden, very, very quickly, buyers have stepped back up. Now, why would you do that as a buyer? Why would you step up quickly? Because you believe it's still good value. Let's go back to the perspective of being a person, not a price again. Why would you all of a sudden say, I want to buy that now? I want to buy that now, when it's gone up 10% in a week and you still want to buy that? For whatever reason, forget about why you've made the decision. The reason you want to do that is you think that it's going to go higher very, very quickly, right? So that will then show itself in the time it takes for that pullback to recommence the trade. So a strong trend is going to have a very small pullback, number one. The duration is going to be very, very small, number two. And immediately, straight away, we're not going to be fluffing around here. We're going to be pushing straight through highs. And then again, if we now look, okay, let's wipe some of this off, because let's look about, that's kind of the first pullback situation, but this becomes stronger and stronger the more pullbacks we are into the trend. Generally speaking, the trend gets weaker the further down, the more pullbacks we have. So if we get strength, if we get size of the pullback is small, if we get the time and duration of the pullback is small, and we're in the third, fourth, fifth pullbacks, that thing is brutally strong, because generally speaking, the further we move, the more pullbacks we've had, the more chance sellers have come to back it, to get involved in it, and they haven't, the weaker the trend is going to be. But if it's still aggressive, if it's still very, very small, the pullback, small the pullbacks, shallow is what I was meant to say, shallow and small, it means that we're going to get much more, or likely to get much more aggression pushing on again. Now, there's a little caveat to that, guys, as with everything in trading. There are probably quite a few caveats, but these are the ones that I want to point out. If we have a big, strong trend, I've just drawn exactly the same thing that I've rubbed off, never mind. If we've got a big, strong trend, but we have some news coming up here in the next few days, that may stall the trend, because people have done all the buying already. Sellers are kind of already had the opportunity, and then maybe there'll be an additional catalyst there. And from a hedge fund manager's perspective, you need to justify why you're buying 3 days before news. If it goes wrong, you've got no reason you haven't really got anything to your investors to say why. You're like, well, I took a punt on there being good earnings coming out.